The following is a segment from the Carl King Podcast. If you enjoy this show, be sure to like, subscribe, and send us burritos. And now, on to the headphone album of the week. In my last episode, I interviewed Trevor Dunn. And of course you listened to that, so you'll know that his new Trio Convulsant album came out this weekend, just in time for Halloween. And it is called Seances. The first E in the title has one of those little diacritical marks over it. Anyway, Mr. Dunn describes its contents as, quote, chamber jazz metal inspired by bizarre tales of an 18th century French religious sect, unquote. Okay then, I will let everyone know. But what is this thing called Trio Convulsant? Well, in my recent interview, Trevor said this, quote, Trio Convulsant initiated out of the concept of having a jazz trio, but using rock language and using power chords and being kind of heavy with it, but also composing for it as if it's classical music. Huh. So, let's examine this trio. The main and obvious part of the trio is a three-piece rock band, guitar, bass, and drums, but with Trevor instead playing upright bass. And he brought in Mary Halverson on guitar and Ches Smith on drums. And Ches Smith on drums. Is that Ches or Chess? We don't know yet. Anyway, you might know of Ches Smith's drumming from John Zorn and several Secret Chiefs 3 records. Either way, I recommend getting on YouTube and looking up some videos of Ches Smith and Mary Halverson. They are super impressive musicians that I was previously unaware of. Now, as I said, those 3 musicians are just one part of the trio. The other part of the trio are 4 more musicians playing flute, bass clarinet, cello, and violin. And by the way, that violin is played by none other than Carla Kihlstedt. That's right, from Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. But let's get back to the mathematical part of this podcast. Trio Convulsant has a quartet inside the trio. It's kind of a nested tuplet taken to a meta level. 7 inside of 3. And I think it's the only place on Earth you can pay for the trio and get a septet. Folks, this is the kind of music that can take time for us to understand and relate to. The more we listen, the more it makes sense. It's hard to make and to enjoy, but it is worth it. It's kind of like looking at one of those optical illusions where if you look at it long enough, a coherent image pops out. I've listened to the album probably 20 times in the past couple of weeks, and I feel like I'm just now starting to find my way through it. And if I squint my brain, only half paying attention, it sure does sound like Stravinsky. You'll probably realize that Mr. Bungle is fairly accessible by comparison, as they had actual song structures with lyrics, while this music goes off into the deep end of instrumental complexity. Now, I could be wrong, but I think some of this music follows a form that's common to jazz. A piece will start out with the main theme, which I think is called a head, and then there's a long middle section where the musicians explore the ideas. And then they give the signal to return to that head and end the piece. But the thing is, this music is so dissonant and complex, with so much counterpoint, I'm not entirely sure that's happening, and it's easy to get lost. So if you are one of those prog rock snobs who thinks an occasional bar of 7/8 is impressive, try making sense of Trio Convulsant. I ask all of the very good friends of Carl King to put on your headphones, turn off the lights, close your eyes, and listen to Seances. At this point, you can stream it anywhere, but it's even better if you buy it at Bandcamp, so the largest amount of cash will go straight to the artist. And as always, I will ask my team if they can place a hyperlink in the description. In the show notes. If you enjoyed this segment from the Carl King podcast, remember, you can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or through an old rubber hose.